Welcome to the Restricted Handling Podcast. Let's dig in. Here's what's been going on in Russia in the last 24 hours. So, over the past 24 hours, Russia decided to remind everyone that even when the battlefield's frozen, the propaganda war's still cooking. The Kremlin rolled out a couple of flashy offensives up north, sneaking small units across the Ukrainian border into sleepy little towns like Hrabovske and Vysoke in Sumy Oblast. Sounds dramatic until you realize these are hamlets with more cows than people. Ukrainian troops pulled back a bit, regrouped, and held the line. The Russians even paraded around some footage of their 34th Motorized Rifle Brigade to prove they'd made a breakthrough. But analysts say the real goal isn't territorial, it's psychological. This is Putin playing information warfare, trying to make the West think Ukraine's defenses are crumbling, so we all start whispering about peace at any cost. It's like that guy who loses 3 rounds of poker, then loudly declares he's just changing strategy. The tactics don't even make sense militarily. Russian squads cross the border shoulder to shoulder in fog, something straight out of a 1980s Soviet training film. That's the opposite of how they've been fighting for 2 years, when every other unit learned to crawl in 2s or 3s to avoid getting smoked by Ukrainian drones. The move was so visible, it's hard not to think it was staged for the cameras. Ukraine's commanders even called it a local provocation. Translation: it's theater, not war. But there's a darker side. Around 50 civilians from Hrabovske, mostly elderly, were reportedly deported to Russia. Forced deportations are illegal under the Geneva Conventions. Not that Moscow's been too worried about those lately. The pattern fits with Russia's broader campaign of ripping Ukrainians out of their communities, sending them across the border, and pretending it's all humanitarian assistance. It's cynical, even by Kremlin standards. While all that noise played out on the border, a much bigger drama unfolded in Florida. That's right. Miami became the latest venue for U.S.-Russia-Ukraine diplomacy. Picture it: suits, security details, and probably some very awkward hotel lobby run-ins. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East guy, and his sidekick Jared Kushner hosted separate meetings with Ukrainian negotiator Rustem Umerov and Russian investment boss Kirill Dmitriev. Everyone called the talks productive and constructive, which is diplomatic code for "we didn't throw chairs, but nobody agreed on anything." The Americans are pushing a revised 20-point peace plan that includes security guarantees for Ukraine, reconstruction funding, and possibly a cap on Ukraine's army size. Putin wants to keep the land he's already taken. Zelensky wants his land back. And the Europeans, already worried that Trump might cut a deal too cozy for Moscow, are trying to jam in their own edits. The Kremlin, through aide Yuri Ushakov, immediately said those edits did not improve prospects for peace. In Russian diplomatic speak, that's about as warm as a Siberian winter. Dmitriev's heading home to brief Putin, who's likely to grumble that Russia's winning anyway. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence is keeping receipts. Their latest reports say Putin hasn't budged an inch from his original goals: total control of Ukraine and renewed dominance over former Soviet neighbors. Washington's negotiators may be talking peace, but the analysts are saying, don't buy the act. European intel agrees. Putin still dreams of restoring the empire. The Kremlin calls that security interests. But come on, this is the same playbook they've used since the Brezhnev era. And as if to prove the point, Russia's military-industrial complex is literally cracking under its own weight. Sanctions are shredding the economy. Oil revenues from Rosneft and Lukoil are down nearly 50%. Gazprom's bleeding cash, and inflation's back above 16%. Putin's been trying to patch the holes with more borrowing and tax breaks for his favorite oligarchs, but economists are warning of a full-blown banking crisis next year. It's like watching the USSR's final days, except now they're live-streaming it on Telegram. Yet somehow, Russia still finds time for theater at home. On Monday, a car bomb killed Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov in southern Moscow, the head of the General Staff's training directorate. The explosion ripped through a residential neighborhood just after dawn. Investigators are pointing at Ukrainian intelligence, which hasn't claimed it but also hasn't exactly denied it. Sarvarov's death makes him the latest in a growing list of assassinated generals after similar car bombings took out Yaroslav Moskalik in April and Igor Kirillov last year. Putin can't keep his top brass alive, even in Moscow. Talk about bad optics when you're trying to project control. To make matters worse, Ukraine's intelligence service claims it torched two Russian fighter jets, a Su-27 and a Su-30, at an airbase near Lipetsk. The operation reportedly took 2 weeks to plan and was executed by resistance operatives inside Russia. The combined damage? Around $100 million. And just to twist the knife, Kyiv also hit a Russian oil terminal on the Black Sea, lighting up the night sky like a Michael Bay movie. Back in the Pacific, Russia and China are flying joint nuclear-capable bomber patrols again, their 10th since 2019. This one ran near Japan and into the broader Pacific, farther than ever before. The Russian Tu-95s and Chinese H-6Ns cruised close enough to Alaska that NORAD scrambled fighters just to keep an eye on them. Officially, both sides say the patrols aren't directed at third countries, which is like saying your ex's Instagram post wasn't about you. The show of force is clearly aimed at Washington and Tokyo, flexing that partnership without limits line Putin and Xi love to repeat. And if that wasn't enough cosmic drama, NATO intel is reporting that Russia's working on an anti-satellite weapon designed to fill Starlink's orbit with tiny shrapnel. The goal: knock out Elon Musk's satellites that Ukraine uses for battlefield comms. Think of it as Moscow's way of rage-quitting the internet. The problem? That kind of weapon doesn't care whose satellite it hits. It could destroy Chinese systems, too. It's basically space vandalism. On the home front, the Kremlin's security services are devouring their own. The Magnitogorsk police chief, Colonel Konstantin Kozitsyn, was arrested for leaking state secrets to a company rep. In Moscow, a senior exec at Kavkaz.rf was busted for taking a 2 million ruble bribe tied to state contracts. The same day, Putin's intelligence service claimed, without evidence, that 90% of Ukrainian diplomats abroad plan to defect. Classic disinformation: smear the other guy to distract from your own corruption. Inside Russia, dissent keeps shrinking. The underground network Vivozhuk, which smuggled more than 200 anti-war Russians out of the country, just announced it's shutting down. No money left. Its volunteers say the cost of rescuing one activist can run nearly €1,000, and donors have dried up. It's a sobering reminder that while the Kremlin escalates, the people trying to escape it are running out of options. On the battlefield, Russian troops finally captured the small town of Siversk after nearly 3.5 years of fighting. It's a tactical win, but a symbolic joke. 12 kilometers gained in 41 months. Putin's media machine is spinning it as proof that Russia's on the march again. The truth is, his armies spent more time taking selfies with ruins than taking territory. Meanwhile, a very different kind of story out of Ukraine. Nova Post, the delivery company, is thriving under fire. They're moving over 1 million parcels a day, using Starlink and generators to keep going during blackouts. They've lost employees to the war, taken damage at hundreds of branches, and still posted record profits. While Russia brags about liberating villages, Ukraine's private sector is quietly proving what resilience looks like. Thanks for being a part of the RH community. Subscribe, leave a positive comment or 5-star review, and most importantly, help build our network by sharing this.